Hello, folks. Welcome to lovechangegrow.com. Hey, I haven't done a video here in a while, so I figured I'd give it another whirl. And I've changed up some things. I'm going to try some different things and see what works, what doesn't. Give me any feedback. But first, a brief couple housekeeping things. I know that some folks subscribed, and that was through an email kind of service kind of thing that started out as free but became quite expensive. So I've dropped that. And so I encourage folks to go ahead and just bookmark in their browser or their cell phone or whatever. And I post every Sunday, usually later on Sundays, but that's a way you can just maintain your sovereignty, and you don't need to be identified or anything like that. So I encourage folks to do that. Though I did find out this past week through my contact page, you can submit questions or requests or whatever. And I finally figured out in WordPress where that stuff is. And so there's that. So part of the change up is you'll see in the written part of the post is I did some of it in just outline form. I'm finding out that putting 2,000 or 3,000 words together in some organized manner is quite a bit of work. And then it dawned on me, let's try a outline format. So that's one of the things you'll see here. So then on to the post of the week. I decided I'd like to do a bit of a video introduction, and so that's what this is. So a good friend of mine on a post I saw on my feed is that a lot of people are just kind of freaking out. I think the awareness has come to exist that, hey, there are a lot of things that are going on, whether you call it a poly crisis or whatever. So I wanted to dive into that this week. So first off, oh, by the way, and I've had a lot of years in mental health, and 25 years of it was in crisis evaluation and consulting. So I find it really interesting that we're now in the place and I have all this crisis experience. So I figured one way to do this is just to put out my experience and my perspective of how to work with crisis and what crisis is. So that's what this post is about. So first off, you can think of crisis, and a lot of times I saw people that would come into the ER brought in by a police family, or they came in on their own going, oh my gosh, what is happening? And so one of the bases is you can think of crisis is the dawning of awareness. And generally we tend to get this tunnel focus, and really the crisis is a response to survival, which involves our older parts of our brain. Some people call it the limbic system. Some folks call it the reptilian brain. And so anyway, it involves the 3 F's basically. When a person's under stress, they're either going to freeze, they're going to fight, or they're going to run away. And so that is the normal response to external things happening, and also to when we perceive or think we're under some kind of threat, whether real or imagined, we tend to freak out. Okay? So the thing to do first is just recognize that this is a normal thing. And so what you have to do is change your awareness. Instead of being focused on what is happening internally or externally. You have to kind of gain your internal uh, focus and really notice what are your visceral responses, and and just notice them. You don't have to accept them. You don't have to push them away. Just notice them, and then focus on the easiest thing is on your breathing, because when we're in that fight or flight freeze response, we're breathing with our chest, and we need to move our breath down into our belly and slow it down. And what that does is you realize there you can go, well, wait, this is happening, but how do I respond? And so it's not the crisis, it's your response to the crisis, which is important. So just know that. And so if we want to respond well, we got to kind of get our heads wrapped around, in a sense, go inside, get our breathing calmed down, so we're not in this survival response, old survival response of fighting, fleeing, and freezing. So once you get into that space, then you can use your logical head kind of and ask, what is exactly happening? I'm not going to die. I'm not in mortal danger. So then you get your head and go, and look around and go, what's safe, what isn't, what is really exactly happening? And so that's becoming situationally aware. And in that, then you can start to analyze what is exactly happening. And in the triage world, there's the triage is this word that gets thrown around a lot. But what it basically is you have basically three responses in triage. One is no matter what you do, you're going to be all right, or the person's going to be right. Another response is no matter what you don't do, it's going to be all right. So in both those situations, no matter what you do, the person's going to be all right. No matter what you don't do, the person's going to be all right. So then you want to focus on the third piece, is where is the treatment, or what can I do that is going to make an effect in the situation of survival? And so that's where the triage is that's how you sort out and begin to focus on what can you do that's going to make a difference. Okay, so there's your kind of situational awareness and your triage. Oftentimes in a dangerous situation, you really don't want to confront the bear until you develop a situational awareness. And most times it's going to be better to basically withdraw your focus, because if you feel like you're under threat, you're going to be locked in there. And so what you want to do is expand your awareness and realize you may have some other tools, some other resources, another way to think about things. So when you withdraw the focus from the bear, it opens up your awareness, and then you have a much more cognitive space to go, well, what resources do I have? What options do I have? And what do I really need to pay attention to, and what's all this other stuff that is noise, but it's a way to sort the things that are important to pay attention to and the noise. So it's not that you're avoiding the situation, it's that you're expanding your awareness of the situation. So I think you got that. So another way to think about this is, even though there's this hellish storm, this energy that is just swirling about, is you can try to find a place to yield and to move out of the way. And in various ways to look about this, the way to do that is not get sucked around into the storm that's swirling about you, but to go inside. And that way you can kind of get centered in yourself. Realize that despite all these crises going on, your day to day, when I wake up in the morning, when I take a breath, when I have something to eat, when I can smile, all that stuff is out there. But what is important is how I am feeling and being right now. And when you take it down into that moment to moment kind of thing, you realize that, you're here, you're breathing, you're existing. And that's great. That's where you want to be. Because then you can kind of then figure out what to do, what your response is. And so you begin to realize, whatever's happening out there, whatever happened in the past, those were in the past. And whatever you might do in the future are what you might do. But that's the future. So what the piece is you're focusing on now. What can I do? How can I respond to ensure my well-being, my sense of safety, and to get out of that fear space? And let's see. So in my work, I would listen to people, establish a empathic space for them to be safe. They kind of let out this energy, and then you kind of expand that awareness of other things, other resources and stuff. But then I would ask folks, well, what are you going to do? And that's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I have no frickin' clue. And so the question is really, that's the setup. The question is what do you love to do? And what that does is then takes the energy and the focus off of the crisis, off of all the storm that's going around, and you realize you have an opportunity is, what do I love to do? So that brings the focus back on something you can control, something that you can do, because all the noise out here, there's not much you can do. Maybe turn off the news or quit listening to whatever you've been listening to. But so you get to start thinking about what's your passions, what is your joy and stuff. So when you start to focus on your joys, your passions, your dreams, the focus is taken off the fear, and the focus is on things that you love to do. And in that, basically the fear, that energy just disappears, and it really doesn't matter what you've done, where you've been, what your background is, what your past is. That tends to start to fade fairly quickly. And so you become more focused on, hey, this is where I want to go. This is my dream and things. This is how I can make sense and meaning and purpose in my life and move forward. So just a side note here, the side note is, the tactics of the old school guard is, with the news, with polycrisis, oh, there's another war, there's another famine, there's another tornado. Tornadoes were big in Nebraska and Iowa this week. And so when you start to look at their tactic is they're really trying to keep you in a constant state of fear. And when you do that, if the PTSD world is that you're constantly getting triggered, that kind of tends to hardwire your neural pathways. And so you have this slight little trigger and it sends you on into this crisis space, the fear space. And so, the whole thing is they want to keep the trauma going. Now, I think the response, in my experience, both in my personal and professional life, is you want to withdraw your attention from the storm and redirect it to what do you want to pursue, what do you want to focus on. And the best thing, in my opinion, is to focus on your dreams, your passions, what you love to do. And that gets your energy moving forward. And so you're back here today. You're in the today world. So what can I do today to get back on the wagon, so to speak, and ride that wagon a little further? Now, we all, in substance abuse, we all fall off the wagon. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, whatever, bad habits, that are immoral, fattening, and not good for you, we fall off the wagon. No big deal. The point is to get back on the wagon. So, from that standpoint, don't beat yourself up. Don't go crazy. Don't go, oh my gosh, I'm going to hell because I fell off the wagon. Just get back on the wagon by centering yourself, by unplugging from all the kind of crisis narrative, the emergency trauma narrative, and you go, well, what can I do today to get back on the wagon, to redirect my focus from the crisis onto my response of where you want to go, what you want to do, what is your meaning and purpose. And so, part of crisis, subsequent, the increase of awareness, there's a part that's also shocking and horrifying, is that, oh my gosh, how did I get myself into this? Why didn't I see this? And I could have prevented this happening in my life if I would have just known. Well, that's not useful. It's useful to acknowledge that, but then you want to move on and say, yeah, I'm not going to, beat myself up over that. And so, I think a nice way to look at that is, okay, you've discovered the wagon. So what about inviting more people to join you on the wagon, as especially in this seeming economic, all kinds of stuff, crisis, is for us to start inviting other people. Let's have a discussion. Let's become more aware of what we can do in our community, in our families, in our friendships and stuff. What can we do to get out of this crisis is to kind of join together, kind of start to become more aware of as a community and a family. And which brings me back to this whole idea that I've been kind of harping about for quite some time now, is what we're going through is an opportunity to become aware that we are really, part of divinity. We have part of divinity in us. We are divine souls, and this time on our planet is kind of like a crisis to kind of kick up our awareness, to get us to move from the fear stuff to what we love, and in that, as we move into abundance, we realize that love is abundant. There's a lot of things that to feel blessed about, and to have a feeling of gratitude. And maybe a year or more ago, I did a post basically, what if love was the new money? And in that, the thinking is still the same, that, if love is the new money, then sharing is the new wealth. And I think that has a kind of an underlying presumption that we're basically learning the awareness is dawning on us that we need to move from a fear-based kind of world, a perspective of a way of being. Instead of being in fear, we need to be in love. And so that's basically the introduction to this post. And I want to thank a good friend, Gina, who she made a post, and it was the inspiration for this week's post. So thank you, Gina. So the rest of the post is, first you're going to see the outline piece, and I'm just experimenting with that, and then some other wandering around, blabbing about things. Anyway, there you go. Thank you, and I will be back next week. This week is Sunday, April 28th, 2004. And I think this might be hopefully a timely post, because people are really waking up and going, oh my gosh, it's hitting the fan, Groceries are twice as much as they were 2 years ago. So anyway, thank you, and be well. Love you guys.